Sleepy Creek, aptly named. The town slumbered, nestled deep in a valley where sunlight struggled to reach. Ancient trees loomed, casting long shadows. They whispered secrets on the wind. Life moved slowly here. Too slowly, some said. But it was a peaceful slowness, until it wasn't. The first sign was subtle, a growl harsher, more guttural. Then, the Bennett family's golden retriever, Buddy, usually a ball of sunshine, snapped. "Bit young Timmy on the hand." Mrs. Bennett swore. Buddy's eyes glowed red. More incidents followed. Hisses in the night, dogs acting strangely, their barks laced with an unfamiliar malice. Bite marks, unlike any animal known, began to appear. Fear, a silent predator, crept into Sleepy Creek. The townsfolk, once accustomed to the quiet rhythm of life, found themselves living in a nightmare. Their once beloved companions had transformed into something sinister, their eyes reflecting a darkness that chilled the heart. The air grew thick with unease, and the shadows seemed to stretch further, as if the very essence of the town was being consumed by an unseen force. The general store, usually abuzz with gossip, was unnervingly quiet. Martha, the owner, nervously dusted the counter. Her own beagle, Pepper, whimpered under the counter, tail between her legs. The normally boisterous dog hadn't barked in a day.
"Never seen anything like it."
Old Man Hemlock rasped, his voice like dry leaves. He remembered everything about Sleepy Creek, every birth, every death, but this was new. The fear was contagious, spreading faster than the strange illness plaguing the dogs. Whispers of rabies and demon dogs filled the air, but no one dared to utter the word that hung unspoken: curse. Dr. Lila Grant, the town's veterinarian, found herself on the front lines of this growing crisis. Her clinic, usually a haven for furry patients, was now filled with the unsettling sounds of growling and whimpering. The dogs, their eyes glazed over with an unnatural intensity, snapped and snarled at her every touch, their bodies racked with tremors. Dr. Grant, a woman of science and logic, scoffed at the whispers of curses, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of unease that clung to her like a shroud. The symptoms were baffling, unlike anything she had encountered in her years of practice.
The bite marks, deep and jagged, defied explanation. The dogs, usually docile and loving, were now possessed by a primal rage that sent shivers down my spine. Their once gentle eyes burned with a malevolent light, as if something dark and ancient had taken root within their souls.
Sleep became a distant memory as Dr. Grant tirelessly searched for answers in her medical textbooks, the pages illuminated by the dim glow of her desk lamp. But every avenue she explored led to a dead end, the mystery deepening with each passing hour. The familiar world of veterinary medicine had become a twisted labyrinth, and she found herself lost in its dark and confusing corridors. Desperate for answers, Dr. Grant found herself drawn to the town's oldest resident, a reclusive woman known only as Nana Willow. Nana Willow, her eyes clouded with age but sharp with wisdom, listened intently as Dr. Grant described the strange affliction gripping the town's dogs.
The symptoms are unlike anything I've ever seen. The dogs, they're not themselves.
A long silence filled the room, broken only by the crackling of the fire. Then Nana Willow spoke, her voice a low whisper that seemed to weave itself into the fabric of the room.
There is an ancient legend, passed down through generations, of a wandering healer unjustly accused of witchcraft and burned at the stake. In her final moments, she cursed the town, vowing that her innocent spirit would return to seek retribution. Her wrath, she proclaimed, would manifest in the very hearts of the town's most beloved creatures, turning their loyalty into a tool for vengeance.
The tale sent shivers down Dr. Grant's spine, its chilling details echoing the horrors that were unfolding in Sleepy Creek. Section 5, The Spirit's Vengeance, Unraveling the Curse's Origin.
As Nana Willow's words faded into the flickering firelight, I felt a cold dread grip my heart.
The legend, dismissed as mere folklore by most, now held a chilling resonance. Could it be that the healer's vengeful spirit was indeed behind the terrifying transformation of Sleepy Creek's canine companions?
The more I considered the legend, the more the pieces of the puzzle seemed to fall into place. The timing of the outbreak, the bizarre symptoms, the unexplainable bite marks, all pointed towards something beyond the realm of scientific understanding.
A supernatural force, fueled by centuries of anger and pain, was exacting its revenge upon the descendants of those who had wronged her.
I realized that the curse wasn't just affecting the dogs, it was poisoning the very soul of Sleepy Creek. The fear, the suspicion, the growing distrust among the townsfolk, it was all part of the spirit's insidious plan to tear the community apart from within.
Section 6. Facing the Darkness, Dr. Grant's Daring Decision.
Torn between my scientific skepticism and the mounting evidence before me, I knew I had to make a choice. Ignore the legend and watch as Sleepy Creek succumb to fear and chaos, or confront the darkness head-on, armed with nothing but my compassion and a glimmer of hope that the vengeful spirit could be reasoned with.
The decision was not an easy one. The prospect of facing a supernatural entity fueled by centuries of rage filled her with a bone-chilling terror. But the thought of standing idly by while the town she called home crumbled around her was simply unthinkable.
As the sun began its final descent, casting long shadows across the terrified town, I made up my mind. Armed with nothing but my wits, my compassion, and a flickering lantern to pierce the encroaching darkness, I set out to confront the vengeful spirit that haunted Sleepy Creek.
The forest, usually a source of solace for Dr. Grant, now felt oppressive, the air thick with anticipation and dread. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and a faint metallic tang that sent shivers down her spine.
I know you're here. I know your pain, your anger. But this town, these people, they're not to blame for the sins of the past.
She reached the clearing where the healer was said to have met her fiery end. A circle of blackened earth marked the spot, the air above it shimmering with an unnatural heat. As she stepped into the circle, the shadows around her seemed to writhe and coil, taking on the forms of snarling dogs with glowing red eyes. The ghostly dogs growled, their ethereal forms shifting and snarling, but Dr. Grant stood her ground.
This town's remorse, their desire to atone for the past. True peace lies not in revenge, but in releasing the pain that binds you to this world.
As Dr. Grant spoke, pouring her heart and soul into her plea, a hush fell over the clearing. The ghostly dogs, their growls fading into mournful whimpers, retreated to the edges of the circle, their fiery eyes flickering with uncertainty.
My pain, my betrayal, the injustice that fueled my vengeance.
A soft, ethereal glow began to emanate from the center of the circle, taking the shape of a woman. Her form was translucent, shimmering like moonlight on water, but her sadness, her weariness were palpable. She spoke of her pain, her betrayal, the injustice that had fueled her centuries-long thirst for vengeance. But as she listened to Dr. Grant's words, as she felt the town's remorse and their genuine desire to make amends, a flicker of something akin to hope ignited within her spectral heart.
A flicker of hope.
With a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of centuries, the spirit relinquished her hold on the town. The shadows receded, the glowing eyes fading into the darkness. The curse was broken. The next morning, a palpable sense of relief washed over Sleepy Creek. Gone were the unsettling growls, the fearful whispers, the oppressive weight of the curse. Dogs wagged their tails, their barks filled with familiar joy. Children played in the streets, their laughter a welcome sound after weeks of hushed silence.
The town is healing, and so am I.
Dr. Grant, her eyes heavy with exhaustion but her heart lighter than it had been in weeks, watched as the town slowly began to heal. The experience had changed her too. It had shaken her belief in the purely rational, opened her eyes to the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the surface of the everyday. Life in Sleepy Creek returned to a semblance of normalcy, but it was a normalcy forever altered, touched by the darkness that had threatened to consume it. Despite the return to normalcy, a subtle unease lingered in the air. The shadows cast by the ancient trees seemed a little deeper, the silence of the forest a little more profound. Sleepy Creek may have been freed from the curse, but the memory of it remained, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of the everyday.
The spirit's presence, it still lingers.
And Dr. Grant, as she tended to her patients, couldn't shake the feeling that the spirit's presence still lingered in the town, watching, waiting, A silent guardian, perhaps, ensuring that the lessons learned from the curse would never be forgotten. The darkness might have receded, but it had not been vanquished entirely. It remained, a subtle undercurrent in the seemingly peaceful rhythm of Sleepy Creek, a constant reminder that some wounds, even time, cannot fully heal.